What's up, guys? Out here getting a run in. It's actually an easy run day for me today. More of a distance challenge than pace, you know, just trying to get the miles in. At about coming up on 7 miles so far, 7:43 minute per mile pace, which is actually a little too fast. I think I'm going a little too fast. So I thought a good way to help slow me down and make sure that this is actually an easy run like it's supposed to be is make a video for you guys and talk about the 5 rules of running improvement. And there's a lot of different things you can do to help improve your running, obviously, but there are 5 big things that anybody can do, you can start implementing right now, that are guaranteed to help you improve your running, whether you're trying to get faster, run longer distance, whatever. If you follow these 5 rules, you're definitely going to become a better runner. And bear with me, man, it's like 40 degrees out. My lips are frozen, probably got snot coming out my nose. Just go along with it, all right? And hopefully I can actually hold this camera up while I'm doing this. My fingers are frozen right now. All right, but that's enough bitching about the cold. Let's get down to it. All right, number 1. One of the biggest things to remember when you're working on your training plan, all right, and actually implementing the plan, is that no more than 20% of your runs should be hard, should be high in difficulty level, all right? That means maybe one day out of the week should be focused on your sprints or your elevation training or your interval work, fartleks, things like that. The rest of the days, regardless of how many days a week you're training and what your training goal is, should be easy runs. So that means most of your running should be relatively easy. This is going to help you properly recover and build up that cardiovascular endurance that you need in order to manage the harder runs, okay? And that way, when you actually get to the hard run days, you'll see the improvement over time, week after week. Because really you want to be at like peak performance level during the week on those hard days so you can make those improvement gains. You can make those gains during those hard days. Easy days are just maintenance days. And that's true whether you're training for speed, distance, doesn't matter. 20% of your runs, no more than that, should be hard. The rest of them are easy. That's a huge thing. And you have to stick to that, all right? Even with me, I have a hard time with that. Sometimes you just want to go, go, go. You know, run your ass off, run hard. Bring yourself down when it's time for those rest days. Really, you know, set a pace for yourself and stick to that pace. Make sure you're paying attention to it and don't go any faster than what that pace dictates. A good way to make sure that you're running easily and for your own skill level is that you should be able to maintain a conversation as you're running. So I'm making this video right now. I'm able to maintain this conversation as I'm running, right? So now I know I'm running at an easy level for myself. Whew. Whew, okay. Now give me one sec, guys. It's a little slippery right here. Look at that, there's ice on the bridge. It's freaking cold today, man. All right, number 2 is you really have to make sure that you're paying attention to your nutrition. You know, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to remember that you cannot outrun a bad diet, okay? It's so true. You know, you got to make sure you're eating high quality, natural foods as possible. And if you're going to be running a lot of carbs, all right, you should not be avoiding carbohydrates if you're looking at improving your running. That's just not the time to do that. And calories in general, same thing. You're going to need more calories because you're going to be burning more calories for your train up. The average person is going to burn anywhere between 100 and 150 calories per mile that they run, regardless of pace. And that calorie count can add up real quick. You know, I'm out here getting in around 10 miles. That's 1,500 calories that I'm going to burn just on my morning run. And so those calories have to be available in order to perform during your run. And if you're a person looking to lose a little weight with your running improvement goals, that's okay. Just don't go too crazy. You know, you don't need to be completely starving yourself. You don't need to be in a huge caloric deficit. Just shave a little bit off the top. All right, maybe take 20%. We'll stick to that 20% golden rule. 20% caloric deficit, including the calories that you're going to be burning during your run. So remember what I said, 150 calories roughly per mile. Take 20% off the top of that. That can be your caloric deficit if you're looking to lose a little weight, but no more than that or your performance is just going to drain and you're going to be doing more harm than good. Protein, if you're looking for peak performance, you want to be taking in about 1 gram per pound of body weight throughout the day. All right, no more than 60 grams at a time because your body can only digest so much protein at a given time. That'll give you what you need in order to recover the muscles appropriately and build. And carbs, again, don't be afraid of carbs. That's what your body needs for energy. That's what it uses for energy output. And that's one of the best parts about being a good runner, man. you get to eat a whole bunch of carbs, all right? Don't be afraid of carbs. All right, I feel like I beat up nutrition enough. Let's talk about number 3, and that is making sure you're warming up and cooling down appropriately. Believe it or not, some of the biggest potential for gains are lost if you do not appropriately warm up and cool down before and after your runs. It doesn't take much. You don't have to get super serious about it, but you got to make sure you do it. All right, hopefully you can see me there. Okay, so before your run, you want to make sure you're doing active stretching, okay? And that's going to look something like this. Maybe some leg swings. You know, maybe 10 to the front, maybe 10 laterally, something like that, just to open up the hip flexors, lengthen the quads and the hamstrings just a tad. You don't want to get too crazy. Just some active stretching. Maybe some air squats. Just warming up the muscles, warming up the body. You know, maybe some high knees. Things like that. Quick actions, all right? You want to be priming the muscles. You don't want to lengthen them or loosen them up too bad, because then you're just going to be all loosey-goosey when you're out there trying to get your run on. You want to be primed. You want to be ready to go. You want to get the blood flowing, all right? Static stretching is going to come after your runs. That's just as important as the active stretching before you get your run on. All right, so static stretching is going to be, that's going to be all about loosening up and lengthening the muscles, all right? This is after you do your run, after you tighten everything up. That's going to be more like your bent over hamstring stretches for 30 seconds at a time. You know, maybe some quad stretches, things of that nature. I really can't stress enough how important active and static stretching is going to be to help your running improvement. You know, recovery is just as important as the training itself. And if you're not implementing proper stretching, you're just going to be missing out on the gains that you would have otherwise had. So you have to make sure you're doing it. I also want to say real quick that I do have a couple videos that you can follow along with to go more into the active and static stretching routines that I actually do myself. I'll put them up in the corner right here. You can go check that out a little later, all right? All right, that's enough of that. Let's get on to the next one. All right, number 4, strength and conditioning. You can't neglect it. You got to keep that up. Just because you're focusing on running improvement doesn't mean that you can neglect your overall strength. And being a good runner, you have to have strong legs and a strong core. Super important. Especially if you're looking to increase your speed. You're going to need the power in order to be able to push yourself forward, to drive yourself forward, to increase that speed as a runner. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you look at the Olympic sprinters, their legs are just jacked, all right? It's because they're strong, and they need to be in order to move forward quickly. And for long distance runners, for endurance athletes, it's just as important. You need to have a good foundation of muscular endurance in order to be a good long distance runner. And sometimes it can be hard to get both in. There's not a lot of time in the day, I get it, to do both running and strength and conditioning throughout the day. That doesn't mean you need to do it every day. You just can't neglect it completely. You got to make sure it's in there somewhere. What I like to do personally is do my strength training immediately after my runs, if I can, if the time is available during the day to do so. If it's not, then I'll at least try to make sure I get it in later in the day. But either way, I do my strength training after my runs. Doing it that way will help the body to stimulate muscle growth on the back end, as well as allow for a maximum potential of the healing process once your workout is completed for the day. And then going back to the nutrition piece, you want to make sure that you replenish the calories that you've used during the run before you get into your strength and conditioning workout. So if you go run 2 miles, that's 300 calories, right? Make sure you put those calories back in before you start your strength and conditioning workout so that you're maximizing your potential for overall performance. And then once you're done completely, you got to replenish again so that you can start the recovery process. But strong runners are strong lifters, all right? I live by that, and I think it's very true. It is true. Do your best to maintain your strength, and you're going to see your running performance increase. All right, guys, last one. One of the most important things you always got to remember is never overtrain. In my experience, and I think it's safe to assume for a lot of serious runners out there, overtraining is something that we have to constantly stave off because we're just motivated to get out there, do our best, you know, always give our 110%, and then we forget that the body actually does need some rest, man. Recovery is just as important as training itself. You got to make sure you're prioritizing recovery, or you're not going to see any gains whatsoever. In fact, you're actually going to be doing more harm than good. And this is especially true with runners. Warning signs to look out for as far as overtraining goes. If you're feeling lethargic, if you're feeling forgetful, if your memory is not as good as you remember it normally being, if you're just in pain before you even start your next run the next day, that's a pretty good warning sign. If you can't sleep as well as you normally do, you should be hungry as a runner more than you normally are when you're taking your running training seriously. And if you have like a serious loss of appetite, that's a major warning sign. A couple more serious ones: if you are getting dizzy when you stand up frequently, if you have blood in your stool or in your urine, that is a no-go. You got to stop training if that's happening to you. And that's okay, you know. If you ever feel like you have some serious overtraining warning signs, just take a few days off. You know, eat some good food, get some good rest, drink some water, take a few days off, allow your body to recover so that you can put it through the proper punishment again once it's ready to do so. Otherwise, like I said, you're just doing more harm than good. So no overtraining, guys. Make sure you're paying attention to what your body's telling you. All right, guys, so those are like 5 major rules to live by for running improvement. You go by those 5 rules and you take them seriously, you're gonna see progress, I promise you. I have a lot of other information and good tips and good motivational material as far as running goes and other things on this channel. So make sure you go check that out. Make sure you like and subscribe if this was useful for you. I just got through 9 miles. And you can see my pace definitely slowed down, which is good, because really an easy pace for me should be more around 8 to 8:30 per mile. So this is good. You guys helped me out. I appreciate it. I got about 1 more mile to go and then I'll be done for my day. I hope this information was useful for you. And if you have any other tips yourself or any input, don't be afraid to drop in the comments. You know, all these videos are supposed to be useful for anybody that watches them. It's all about good information and helping people get better, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off my last mile. Besides that, I've got nothing else for you, and I'll see you on the next one.